Big Al's Rant with Cayden McFarland, powered by Jack Cassee Ford.
And welcome to the Rant, everybody, with Cayden McFarland, Al Jerkins. And before we get into it, now I know why Andy Reid has trouble losing weight.
Tell me why.
Because he's always looking at the Denny's menu.
It looks like a Denny's menu. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
the Village
this is
Inn
ugly.
is just as good.
This is so bad.
Well, this game stinks.
How about
So
the line
thank you
from
for
Al
being
Michaels
with
on
us.
that final touchdown of the half, though?
Right. The
He
Jesse
knew he could
James
go to
reference.
Jesse James's back.
you
He could go to the back of Jesse James.
Another.
Nicely done, Al Michaels.
All right, welcome to the program, everybody. Both our state teams get wins yesterday, much needed victories.
First
But
time
my
all
question-
year.
My
First time all year.
But my first question is, if a fan were being honest, if the fans were being honest, do they enjoy this constant offensive football? Don't you like to see someone get tackled once or twice a game? Wouldn't that be nice? Isn't that what football's supposed to be? At least find somebody who can tackle somebody.
Could not agree more. I don't know what the average fan would say, but my sense of it is this. First of all, I'm fed up with this league and the lack of defense. And look, it is a combination of really bad defense. That's number one. The offenses are advanced and good. I mean, I'll give them some credit. I mean, that doesn't explain everything. I'm just saying that's also part of the equation. But I do think that a lot of fans out there are starting to get more tired of it than they used to be. I think at first people got a kick out of the shootouts.
Right. But if they like this stuff, the Arena Football League would be off the charts. It's disappearing. I'm at the game yesterday, TCU and OU. I'm in Fort Worth, and I'm listening to these coaches speak after the game and the postgame. And all I'm hearing is, basically, we've got to get used to this type of play. There's nothing we can do about it. Mike Stoops, who prides himself in defense, is basically resigned to the fact that maybe they can stop these offenses once in a while, and that is considered good enough. If you hold a team to 46 points and you still win a game, what does that tell you?
That's a funny sentence.
You
hold
have
the team to 46 points.
That's my point. They scored 52 points and barely won.
You know where I am.
Barely won a game and scored over a half 100 points. Barry Switzer used to brag about hanging half 100 on him.
That won't do it anymore.
That isn't even any good anymore.
There are so many things to tackle here. I guess first and foremost, because everybody's a Sooner fan. Sure.
You're going to try to tackle something that no one in the Big 12 has been able to do.
This OU defense is clearly, obviously, not good enough to play at championship level. And we knew that last year. We discovered that in the Clemson game in the college football playoff. They're not there. They weren't there last year. They're even further away this year. That's obvious. I won't even bother with it anymore. Here's what I've been saying for a while now. Would somebody please make a rule change to benefit the defense? Can we start with just one? Well, how about we start with this? Stop stopping the clock on first downs. The game would move a little bit faster, and defensive players would be on the field for, let's say, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays less. To me, that adds up. These kids are out there for 100 plays. It's absurd.
I know, but if you did that, you would also take away that 5-second break that a defense does get between plays.
True, but I don't think that's benefiting them as much as the up-tempo offenses are working. And the other thing I would do is have the referees take control of how quickly offenses can move. In the NFL, referees control it as opposed to coaches. I don't like in college football. It looks like a Chinese fire drill.
I see what you're saying.
One play, 7 seconds later, another.
I totally see what you're saying, but I just don't like to put those kind of things in a ref's hands because there's going to be too much presumption of favoritism, bias. You wanted this team to win.
No, it's a fair point. It's done in the NFL, though.
I know.
Done in the NFL.
Speaking of what we're talking about.
You were there. Let's talk about these.
Here's what Mike Stoops said after the game. He is just about resigned to the fact that teams are going to score a lot of points, and it's got to be killing them. Here's what he said.
There are no magical calls in this league, and against the people we play, you have to match up and you have to make plays. And you saw through the middle part of the game when you just make a few plays how different the game is. And you have to have cover people. I mean, there's nowhere to hide in this league. We see it repetitively over and over and over, and I know people, want to take shots at all our defenses. I know Gary Patterson can coach damn good football. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. That's the world we live in as defensive coordinators. And, it's tough. It's never been tougher in this league. The matchups are extreme and continuous, and we just got to find, at least we made enough plays to get ourselves ahead of the game.
All right, do you buy that? Is that a cop-out for defenses?
Well, what I heard there was a guy who was just trying to be honest. It is difficult. I'll sign off on that. It is difficult, and you have to have really good cornerbacks. They had much better corner play last year. Their defense played pretty well in Big 12 play last year. They've got corner issues this year, and it's made all the difference. Also, down pass rushers, Eric Stryker, Devontae Bond. So to me, that was a guy being honest. I didn't hear excuse making. He knows the score. He knows that they're going to have to outscore people and just make a play or two here or there on defense to win games in this league.
I think he's resigned to the fact that he knows that he does not have defensive talent on this football team.
Absolutely.
And as he told me after the Clemson loss, when we were there in the Orange Bowl, that we just have to get physical. Well,
doesn't happen overnight.
Right, exactly. And I don't see, in fact, I saw on this play in particular, I talked about the play last year in the Texas game about how porous the OU tackling was on that one touchdown.
It was just as bad there.
That play we just saw prior to the P. Ryan run was worse.
Yeah. Can we say this, though? TCU is not Louisville. But last night, in Death Valley, a Clemson defense that we know is good, we know has NFL talent and the kind of strength and size we're talking about, gave up a whole lot of yards and a whole lot of points against Lamar Jackson. So, and last year in the national title game, Alabama gave up 40 to Clemson. They gave up 43 to Ole Miss this year. There are situations in college football today, because of the way the game's played, the back shoulder throw, the way pass interference is called, you can't be good enough on defense to shut people down.
All right, tell me this.
With some of the dual threat quarterbacks and just as sophisticated as it's become.
All right, explain this to me, young man. How did Michigan beat Wisconsin yesterday?
Wisconsin doesn't have Lamar Jackson.
14-7. Well,
now I will say this. Michigan is fantastic defensively, and I had a lot of fun watching those guys. Like I told you, when you see a team play real physical man ball defense nowadays, it's almost jarring, especially when you're in our part of the world. Like, you think, are they allowed to do that? Can they be that physical? Look, Michigan's really, really good, but if Michigan lined up against Lamar Jackson next week, do you think they're holding them to 7 points? Not a chance.
All right, we forgot to introduce our partner.
Yeah, that's right.
We got so excited about the lack of
fired up about, yeah.
All right,
Zach's here.
We have anything?
Yeah, we actually do have a question. Brian would like to know, this question is for Al, who would you like to see as defensive coordinator for the Sooners?
Oh, we were already going there. We've already fired him. I know one name you're not going to say.
Okay, remember when Venables was defensive coordinator and everybody wanted to kick him out on the rail, right? We got to hire Mike Stoops to kick some butt around here.
Yep.
Well, what has happened? Has the defense gotten any better since Venables left? And if I'm not mistaken, Clemson just beat Louisville yesterday. Clemson played for the national championship last year. They beat OU. I'm not saying you got to hire Venables back,
right.
But I think
First of all,
I'm not knocking Mike Stoops for admitting that they don't have the players. I think he's tried every possible way to say, we need better defensive talent on this football team.
And they're recruiting They're high in recruiting.
Last year, his plea was, we've got to get more physical. This plea is, what are we going to do about it? We have to find some shutdown corners, is basically what he had to say.
Yeah.
So I think this is a plea on his part to say, we can't, this is inexcusable. We can't continue to do this if we're going to win championships.
I'm not going to tell you that he's doing a bang-up job, and they have certainly done a really poor job.
Well, he did a great job in the second and third quarter. They played great in the second and third quarter yesterday.
They have not done a good job recruiting cornerbacks or developing cornerbacks, one or the other. But just like he mentioned in his soundbite, Gary Patterson can coach some defense, and they gave up 52 points. So it is a difficult task at the moment. And first of all, what fantasy land are you living in where Mike Stoops is going to be fired? Right? I mean, his brother's not going to fire him, so obviously they would have to have. What record would OU have to have this year for Bob Stoops to be fired? They can't lose enough. It's not going to happen.
You know what? The defensive coordinator of the week is just shutting out the Kansas City Chiefs right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers look like they're dynamite. They couldn't get anybody down last week against Philadelphia. So it goes from week to week.
Yep.
All right.
It does. A really big win for the Sooners. Not that they played fantastic football. They looked terrific and they looked terrible all in the same game, but it was a game they absolutely could not afford to lose. 1-3 would have been the first time in the Bob Stoops era. They could not afford to lose it, and it was a good team on the road. They won the game, tip of the cap. Baker looked so off. What I tweeted out at the time was, in hindsight, Sterling Shepard should have won the Heisman last year because Baker looked so bad this year and he looked so great last year, and that appears to be kind of the only difference. We've talked about Pirine and Mixon a lot.
They've got to get the football.
They've got to feed those guys from the start of the game.
I got to be honest with you. I'd rather see those two guys in pass patterns than the current.
I think Joe Mixon's their best receiver. I'm not kidding about that either. I think Joe Mixon is the best receiver on that team, especially when it comes to making a tough catch. He made the big one in the fourth quarter.
On the third down play, yeah. All right, let's move on to OSU, shall we?
We shall.
Oklahoma State getting a big win against those hated Longhorns.
Don't see many defensive highlights here either. Second half was pretty good.
If you're looking for defense, this is not the show for you. Mike Gundy, and you see the mullet is getting even more mullet.
A little longer, yeah.
Whatever that
Justice Hill had a great day out. 135 yards, that touchdown there.
I don't care what anybody says. He's got special written all over him.
Hornets. Hornets are the very best. Booker T produces them. He's ready to go from the start. No tackling here either. James Washington. With the spin move and 54-yard touchdown. Look, I was really impressed with the Oklahoma State offensive plan. Mason Rudolph in big games, he often comes to play. He was over 300 yards in the first half. They scored 37 in the first half. And then I was really impressed, though Texas had the two running backs get hurt, was really impressed with the defense in the second half and here blocking 3 extra points. Have you ever seen a team worse at kicking extra points than Texas?
Having one blocked extra point is a mishap. Having 2 is unthinkable. 3, it's a trend.
I don't even know what that is. I have never heard of it. 3.
OSU had one blocked as well.
Well, you score that many touchdowns, I guess it's bound to happen.
Maybe that's the excuse.
Vincent Taylor is a big-time player, defensive tackle for the Cowboys. I mean, he was busting through the line like the Kool-Aid man.
Look at this run.
Rudolph diving for the end zone.
That reminds me of when Zach Robinson got nailed close to the goal line a couple of years ago.
Hey, Rudolph's a big kid. I think he came over to the sideline and Gundy said, hey, don't do that anymore. Look, it was we said
another blocked extra point.
Just like
I couldn't believe he couldn't go all the way.
A game they couldn't afford to lose, and they did well enough. It wasn't perfect, but Gundy was excited afterwards. And at the end of the press conference, as you may know, last week, T. Boone Pickens, in an interview with an Austin newspaper, talked about how he never talks to Mike Gundy anymore, and then he said Gundy's not very good with relationships, with personal relationships. Mike Gundy was asked about that after the game. Here's what he had to say.
He talked to the Austin paper. He didn't catch.
I didn't have any. I just want everybody to get along. I'm for Oklahoma State, so.
He said you don't have, what was it? People, relationships skills.
Well, you like me, don't you?
I do.
Okay then.
You cracked me up.
See, everybody in here likes me. Jenny loves me now, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
Went from likes to love.
He had no idea.
He owned the room.
Had said about him.
But he
had no idea.
He owned the room right there.
He did a really nice job.
Kind of like he was on, Comedy Central there for a second.
Oh yeah, the Chuckle Hut. My God, the guy with the mullet. He played that pretty well, but I mean, God, he loves lying to us, doesn't he? He had no idea what Boone Pickens had said about it. You think his phone didn't light up with 1,000 messages the second that got out?
Sure it did.
What are you talking about?
That's the world now. That's the world now. The phone lit up when he had the mullet. And he probably didn't even realize he had a mullet until someone mentioned it, and then he said, this isn't a bad idea. Zach, anything?
We actually don't have a whole lot of comments about OSU. JD says that it was a good game. But we do have to talk about this. What did you guys think about the dance at the end of the game?
Yeah,
Mike
we've got
Gundy's
that
dance?
video. Let's go ahead and roll the Mike Gundy dance
The Mike
when we get a chance.
Gundy dance, okay.
He saves this for special occasions. Obviously, Bedlam wins. He's had two
Is
of
this
those.
slow motion?
This is not slow motion. That's how Mike gets down.
That's got to be. That's got to be slowed down.
No, that's how the man works. He gets low. He sways back and forth slowly.
Okay.
How do you feel about the Gundy? Not something. Not something you see every day.
If he did that in the end zone, would he get flagged?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
It looked like something the Pittsburgh Steelers did 2 weeks ago.
Here's what I like about it, because I mean, at first you see it, and he's a middle-aged guy.
I got to tell you,
doing the dance. Of course, he's not going to be good, but his moves, while unconventional, he's quite consistent with it. Like the dance looks that way every time. So I mean, that's his move. That's what he goes
You know that he
to.
practices in the mirror at home.
He definitely practices that move, or he's been doing it since the '80s. One of the two.
As good as I love Mike Gundy to death, he's a great guy to sit down. I mean, if he came here, it would be awesome.
He'd be your guy, yeah.
I got to tell you, the mileage that this I'm 40 has gotten. They were still playing it. Gary Griggs and I driving back from Fort Worth last night, and it's like 2:30 a.m. And you know Gary, he's got to have a radio show. He's got to have a sports talk radio show on. So we pick up this radio, and they are over and over. I'm 40. I'm a man.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
And that's crazy. That's all they kept playing between cuts for a straight half hour. And already Griggs and I are looking at you and says, enough already. It won't die.
People in this state, and certainly Oklahoma State
that
people,
was
I think,
8
are more
years
tired
ago.
of it.
You know that? Almost
9 years
ago.
9 years ago.
9 years
More
ago.
than 9 years ago now. Incredible.
Because he's going to be 50 when? Next spring, right? Next summer?
I thought it was August. Anyway, yeah.
But it's just amazing how much mileage that thing has got.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't think, because it was kind of so unprofessional in my estimation when it happened. I wasn't here at the time. I just didn't think there was any way it'd be such a positive thing for the program. Like, kids know him by it, and people get a kick out of it, and I just don't see how it's been negative in any way. Have you? I mean, you've been here since. To me, it hasn't been negative at all. Raise the profile somehow.
At first, it was a little negative because it seemed childish.
Yes.
But as long as he has been able to joke around with that.
He's played it well.
He's played it well. Just like he just played that, Jenny
yes,
because Jenny Carlson was the one he was pointing at when he made those comments.
Come full circle. Yeah, he mentioned Jenny, and Jenny likes him, according to him. In that video.
The USA Ryder Cup, it's back.
Fantastic.
It's back. The fans were awesome.
They were terrific. No doubt, all weekend.
Don't you wish we could get the Ryder Cup at Southern Hills or Tulsa or something?
Had never thought about it until you brought it up.
Oh, my
that'd
goodness.
That'd be fantastic. And this time of year,
awesome.
That'd be beautiful. Absolutely.
Great. It would be great.
This Patrick Reed kid, the Reed-McElroy matchup, that was so much fun.
And
I couldn't watch the NFL all day long because that was on. I was locked in on it.
Today, too.
There were some bad games.
And the baseball races were already basically over by 3. All right, we do have baseball playoffs coming up. My Yankees will not be there.
Yankees out, Mets in. I'm sorry.
But I did, I had a great. I got to tell you this. This is really amazing.
Oh yeah.
I had the opportunity. My brother was very nice to me. He gave me a present, and he invited me to Yankee Stadium. Right. David Wells, the former Yankee pitcher, was hosting.
Your brother had won a race, and he was on the high from that. And yeah.
So he spent some money on this thing. So anyway, we're sitting in the box, and lo and behold, a guy comes up to me who is also part of this and said, "You look familiar." And I said, "Well, I'm from Tulsa. Well, I'm from Oklahoma City. And I get to Tulsa every once in a while. And you're the sportscaster at Channel 2.
That's
now,
crazy.
who would have thought at Yankee Stadium, of 16 million people, I'd be in the same suite at the baseball game with a guy who has seen us on the Rant and all that and listens to the radio show, right? How unbelievable is that?
It is completely unbelievable. There are so many Yankee fans here in the state of Oklahoma. Obviously, the Mickey Mantle connection, I'm sure.
Bobby Mercer,
and
to a certain
absolutely,
degree.
Bobby Mercer. But that's crazy to be in the same box.
I mean, incredible.
That's nuts. So you got to hang out with David Wells?
Yeah, he was
a good dude.
Little bombastic.
Yeah. And got to say goodbye to Big Papi.
I did. But
But you didn't boo.
I did. This is what I did. Big Papi gets introduced. I stood up and I went.
Little golf clap. Your heart
Then,
wasn't in it.
then Mariano Rivera comes out to present him with the painting.
Yeah.
And then it was, yay! That's how it went.
They treat you, is a pizza like $800 like it is at Jerry World up in the suite? Stadium?
I'm trying to think.
You eating
Because
sushi?
Wednesday we went to the game and we did not have sweet seats. And a beer and a brat was $18.50.
Wow.
Yeah, that's steep, but I mean that's what you come to expect now.
$18.50.
$18.50 for a beer
Kind of like
and a
going to
brat.
movies.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
absolutely.
But anyway, all right, that wraps it up because they're underway. This game that's already 35-0.
They've already scored another touchdown.
Sorry about that, folks.
Whoa!
We will.
I'm sorry, Chiefs
Okay,
fans.
so OU's a 10-point favorite in
10.5.
the Red River
game.
What do they call it now? It's not the shootout anymore.
Red River rivalry.
Yeah. And OSU has Iowa State, and they are.
Iowa State pushed Baylor, but that probably works in OSU's favor. Iowa State has to go on the road, and after an emotional letdown against Baylor. You know who scored for Iowa State? Carson Epps, Jinx kid, 62-yard touchdown, and his brother Isaiah had 5 touchdowns for Jinx on Friday in the win over Broken Arrow. So.
And the game of the week this week.
Big one.
Can't wait. Muskogee at Booker T. What a great game that's going to be.
I had said I thought Bixby was the 3rd best team in the entire state, regardless of class, behind Jinx and Union, and then Muskogee beats them. This Muskogee team's a great story. Coach Rafe Watkins doing a fantastic job.
And we don't want to let you forget that TU plays Friday night as well. They're home against SMU in a American Conference game that is huge, big.
No doubt.
All right, get to a game when you can. We'll see you next week on The Rant. And, of course, we'll see you all week as we preview the OU-Texas game and the OSU-Iowa State game, TU-SMU, and all the high school games as well. And the baseball playoffs this week as well. So have a great week, everybody.
Big Al's Rant with Cayden McFarland, powered by Jack Cassey Ford.